Okay. I welcome you all with love to this little talk, seminar, Q&A thing. But open with a prayer because prayer is going to be really key to understanding what we can do about this. Hashem Yikud Kudashabrihu Ushinate Bi'ilo or Imulaya Chimyuke Belovke Biuda Shalom Shem Kozriel Kolom. Amen. So this is a little update. I assume most of you have my newsletter that says good news and clearer perspectives on COVID-19. If you don't have the newsletter, just go to drcousins.com. It's free and sign up for the newsletter. And that way I can give you the updates. The latest update, just to summarize it, and I want to go beyond that today, but the latest update, the good news, is a few different pieces. You know, as we're beginning to understand this whole trip a lot better, certain therapies have been there. They're still in what we call experimental form. There are researchers in France and New York City and some places in Australia that they clearly have found things that, at least in France, they're talking 100% cure rate. Now, that's pretty impressive. I'm not going to go into those details. They are in my newsletter, but in the whole overall website type thing, we're just going to say, hey, people are making breakthroughs. More than cure, okay, is prevention. One of the things I talk about in the newsletter is that two competing theories back to the 1880s. One is the germ theory, Louis Pasteur, one germ, one disease. And then there is what we call the terrain is everything theory. And what that is your own state of health is more important than the germ. So what I point out is that's very relevant here. What we know is that people who are older and have diseases, okay, now, not older, that's a little bit, over 60, that's a little bit. The big thing is 99% of the people who have died are people who have at least one chronic disease. 50% of people, this is like in Italy statistics, but in general, have 3 chronic diseases. So clearly your state of health plays a big role in how susceptible you are to the virus. Now, many doctors are actually saying, if you're in good health and you have good nutrition, don't worry about it. You're in the less than 1%, really probably 0.66%, 0.665%. In other words, a small percentage of actually getting really hurt by this. The estimates are maybe 86% of people with it don't even know they have it, and they're carriers. So we have a kind of a message is that a lot of people are very slightly affected by us, maybe 81%. We don't have all the statistics, so I'm going to talk more general rather than as if people really have clear statistics. We have rough statistics. You're healthy, your chances of getting this are very, very little. And that means at any age, okay? They cite about older people, it's like, wait, but those are unhealthy older people, okay? So keep that in mind. I'm worried about our children. As I point out in my book, Conscious Parenting, about 50% of the kids, under age 12, already have some kind of chronic disease. That's a little scary. And what we do know in America, we're 17th out of 17 in quality of health. What I mean quality of health, longevity, quality of the immune system, and basically overall quality of health. Men and women are both at the bottom of all the 17 top nations, at the bottom. So we're not taking care of the health. So one of the things we want to look at is, okay, let's pay attention. This is a wake-up call. Now, it's a wake-up call on a lot of levels. But one obvious wake-up call is we've got to pay attention to our health. That takes me back to what I was talking about. The terrain is everything. So Louis Pasteur, when he's dying, he says, Claude Bernard was right. That was his competitor. The terrain is everything. So what is the terrain? It's your immune system, your general quality of health, your nutritional profile. Now, as we look at this, it's pretty clear out there. We know that zinc is a big player. It's actually pretty exciting about zinc. I mean, we know that zinc has an antiviral effect. Actually, the truth is zinc also is needed to make neurotransmitters in the brain. And I write about that in some of my books, that you need zinc as part of a cofactor for over 350 enzymatic reactions in making neurotransmitters. So it's generally good all in multiple levels. Okay, in this case, the research clearly shows that zinc blocks viral replication, blocks the ability of the virus to get into the cell and also into the mitochondria. But big thing, blocks viral replication. That is obviously pretty important. Vitamin D, people have seen, the research again has shown this. It's not a claim I'm making, it's not my thing, it's just out there in the literature. What is that? 40 adequate vitamin D, which I'm saying is at least 2,000 units a day, is going to give you 40 to 50% less upper and lower respiratory infections. So we can go through the whole thing. It's all in the protocol. And I don't want to spend as much time in that because it's all laid out very clearly of what can really help. Just making the point that the goal here, the gift that we're getting from God with this COVID-19, one of the gifts, is, we got to pay attention to our health. We really need to build up our immune system. We need to have a really good quality of nutrition. Now that's one part of the train. Otherwise, what's the rest of the train? Your emotional health. What are we talking about? Well, if you're angry or in fear, it lowers your immune system. If you're in joy and in peace, it elevates your immune system. Then we're talking about your mental health, and we see clearly, and it is as if there's a group fear. It's as if almost a demon has affected people, like a groupthink, demonic fear that's grasping people. And as I point out in my good news, is really given, relatively speaking, at this stage, there's, I think, 4,400 people have died of coronavirus. I don't like to do the body counts, but I'm going to make a point here. And we have about 50,000, so it's 50,000 versus 4.4 thousand. 50,000 people this year so far have died of the flu. Let's put it in perspective. So each year, and I make this clear in my paper, it's progressed, but last year 61,000 people in the United States died of the flu. So we didn't shut down then, and that's a whole lot than what we have now. So we have to what's the perspective? And when you're in fear, your immune system goes down, as I've just said. So we want to build our mental state to be at peace, to be in a sense in harmony and returning to the harmonious ways of that God gave us, really returning to God. So that takes us to the spiritual level. And in many ways, this is clearly a spiritual test. It's a time to reset. This lockdown, which I'm going to say does seem to make a difference. I'll just make a point. I was studying Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. And Sweden says, we'll just do whatever we want to do. It's okay. Denmark and Norway are using similar protocols that we see in the United States and around the world. Well, when they made that decision, they were about the equal amount of deaths per population. Now Sweden has doubled the amount of deaths as compared to Norway and Sweden. So we know that at least at one level the lockdown works. So I think that's good. Now, would we need a lockdown if everybody were taking zinc? Probably not. But we can't say that. I'm just making the point. Oh, and if everybody were taking vitamin D and everybody were taking vitamin C, like, well, it's not, it gets pretty obvious if you have nutritional deficiencies, just like the sailors did, with Lyme's disease, you're going to get sick. You're more likely to get sick. You're more likely to have a weaker immune system. Okay, so but on the spiritual level, we kind of step back and say, okay, let's wake up. Let's see the bigger picture. How can I look at my life? Am I ready to return to God? Because the deeper answer, although not everybody's interested in hearing about it, is we got to return to God, which gives quality, meaning, and purpose in life, and connects us to a bigger picture. Now, there's more to it, but I want to say that the idea of a reset on every level of our lives, and including relationship level, including family level, in terms of how we look at society, are we seeing sacred relationships, seeing the divine in each other, at first starting with ourselves, but in each other, and in our families, and ultimately throughout society. That's a huge shift that can upgrade society, rather than the alienation that seems to be so active here. So a little bit of statement about that. And you may have noticed I'm not saying who created the virus. I'm not focusing on being weaponized, because it doesn't matter, okay, that we have a weaponized virus. It doesn't matter. What matters is us. What are we going to do about that? And that's called wake up. Wake up and return to God. Once you get that, then we start to move in another direction and another way of looking at this question, which is creating a spiritual energy that can, in a sense, nullify the forces of darkness. And because this ultimately is, and almost everyone I have talked to is aware that this is a spiritual battle between light and dark. And are we willing to wake up into the light so that group power that we have is there? I know that when we, since 1985, we were doing the Peace 21 meditation. We'd all meditate together at 7 p.m., Peace 21, on each equinox and solstice. Good time to send the energy out. What would happen? Well, significant drops in crime. What we found is when people meditated, actually shifting it in Rhode Island for a few hours a day, there's a drop of crime of 49%. People said that's a fluke. Came back the next year, dropping 43%. So what we're talking about is creating an energetic that uplifts the global mind. It really works. It's been proven to work. Data since 1973. When 1% of the, this is a team study, when 1% of the population in a town of at least 25,000 people were meditating, there was a 16% drop in crime rate. Oh, that's a pretty important statement. So when we begin as a global community of spiritual beings to meditate together, which I believe is the next step, okay, and I'm open to really any ideas. I don't want to suggest, oh, well, let's all do it on this day, of how to go about doing this. I think that is the next step to creating such a spiritual focus that we overcome the energetics of the darkness, which is behind this, which has created this thing about power and domination and enslavement. What does that do? It blocks spiritual involvement. Think big. Don't think just about domination, power, lockdowns. Think big. Big is there are forces that don't want us to make that deep connection with God and wake up spiritually. That's our purpose on the planet from a spiritual point of view. Now we're saying, let's wake up spiritually. let's take this advantage and say, okay, we're not paying attention. Now we got to pay attention. We have to do everything we can to wake up the spiritual, but not just us. We got to start with us. But let's wake up the whole planet. That's our answer, really, to this manufactured crisis that we have happening. Is that when people are turned on spiritually, they're also going to be healthy and more resistant. And in essence, we have the power to block, to nullify, and I'm going to say more better, more effective, to transform the forces of darkness on the planet, the forces of fear, which many people are experiencing, and transform it into light, love, and oneness, and the upliftment of humanity. That's the great challenge. And as we're in this retreat, it's a great time to start doing it. So we do this over the internet. We had really great fun. We had a 3-day meditation intensive. We were meditating 3 times a day. It was really fun. But people were really waking up and getting it, and then we followed it with a 0 point. Really great fun. You can do everything over the internet, but the spiritual light was shining really, really, really nice. So it was fun to see. We're going to do another one soon. I just quite haven't got my scheduling down, but probably early May, we'll go ahead and do another one. But it's creating that field. But the next step is creating such a worldwide field that we turn people on to God, returning to God, waking up to God, and that God field will nullify the darkness. And I mean that very, very seriously, because right now there's a field of darkness that people feel like overwhelmed with, and a field of dark satanic intention that we have to really face. And we don't have to fight it, you see. All we have to do is create a frequency in the global brain that transforms it. Think about that. We're not in polarity. We're in oneness, and we're part of the global brain. Let's wake up the brain and create that oneness that allows us to transform the consciousness of the planet. That's how I think, a good way to talk about it. We're basically creating a flame that's going to burn through the darkness. That's the beauty of it. The metaphor, of course, is this COVID thing is it's very sensitive to heat. So we're creating a spiritual fire that's going to burn it up, and all the thought forms that help create that. So that's kind of an overall way of thinking about it. I think it gives us a kind of an insight into what we can do, because the question is, what can we do? Well, yeah, take care of your body, build the terrain, just like I have in the newsletter. Again, just go to drcousins.com, ask for the newsletter. It's free. It's a free service. And the protocols there, that's easy. That's the easy part of the terrain, okay? Next part, work on your relationships. Begin to experience the spark of God in each other. Nice, okay? And then our couple relationships, our family relationships, and really our relationship with society. And ultimately, our relationship with the living planet. In my world, I feel one with the living planet. And it's like, okay, we're turning on to the living planet. And the planet's not liking what's going on, okay? Now, I'm going to add one more thing that takes us a little back to the physical. Is that more and more energy, more and more studies are making a connection with 5G. I will be talking about it in my next newsletter. And 5G seems to activate the power of the virus. So the research at this point is that 5G makes the cell walls and the mitochondrial walls more porous, so they can't filter out the virus, so it can come in. Now, not everybody believes in virus. I'm not talking at that level. Whatever it is, 5G makes the cell walls more porous, so energies can get in and infect the cell. Okay, so that's a big deal. There is a direct correlation as we look around the world. I'm not going to give you all the data, but we certainly can look at the Wuhan, where there introduced 5G. We could look at Italy where they introduced 5G. We can look at Spain where they introduced 5G. And very directly, time-wise, that's when the COVID, this infection broke out. So what's going on? Now, some people think it's all 5G. Well, could be. I'm not willing to take a position as much to say as there is a connection with 5G, and it does seem to make us more vulnerable to something. Are these all just 5G symptoms? Yes, but I kind of think it's both. And that and wherever we see 5G, like in Iran, we also see an outbreak of of what we're talking about. So think about that, okay? And I could name all the different countries. Wherever there's 5G, there's a greater outbreak and more people are getting sick. Again, can I say it's just 5G? Can I say it's 5G plus the plague? Can't really, I don't think we can clearly say, but there's a direct association where 5G is turned on and we begin to have it. You can look at New York City, a lot going on. It's a heavy 5G city, okay? So New York, Iran, even Switzerland, Italy for sure, Spain, heavy 5G countries. South Korea, heavy 5G, and of course Wuhan. That, as far as I understand, it's one of the major 5G centers in all of China. So, and it didn't really get activated till they activated the 5G. Something's going on with that. I've written a paper about 5G. You can get it from my website, and it will give you an idea. It lowers your immunity. It disorganizes your brain function, literally associated with significant increases in suicide and depression, paranoia. That's a big deal. Lowers the immune system, increases the rates of diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. That's there. So we have 5G being rolled out as if it's some gift. It is not a gift, okay? It's a curse. And as we begin to deal with this 5G in a more real way, which is political and suits and all the different things people have used to stop it, the sooner we're going to actually be able to deal with this plague that's going on because of that. So I throw that in because it's a spiritual warfare. 5G actually lowers the frequency of consciousness on the planet, literally. It lowers the frequency and function of both heart frequency and your brain frequency, literally, okay? So it's like, wow, why do we want something like that? How is that serving us to lower our consciousness, to confuse our minds, and really decrease our thinking power? How? That doesn't serve us at all. What? So we can have the Internet of Things? Give me a break, okay? But that's the reason they're saying we should have 5G. So this is not, this is a correlation, and 5G on its own stands very poorly. It is a toxic to all of humanity, really all of life on the planet, because it affects our Schumann resonance, which is the life force that all life has. It affects the global electric frequency too, which is key for the electrophysiology of all life. Okay, that being said, we see a connection here, and that's what I'm saying, and I implore people to start researching it up. I haven't researched it all up entirely, but there's no question geographically, where there is 5G, there's a greater outbreak of the plague. So, okay, there we go. So, but that's a spiritual issue again, because 5G blocks spiritual development, as I got very clear in my paper. And so that's the battle that's truly going on. And our counter answer is prayer and love in a bigger way. And I hope somebody, and I don't know if it's going to be me, but I do hope that people get together and we start creating a worldwide meditation, as we did for the Peace 21, as we did in 1987 for the harmonic conversions. Not everybody remembers that. We had 2,000 people on a mountain, Sonoma Mountain in Sonoma County, in our little group, but millions were around the world meditating. We have the power, we just have to choose to use it. So that's an overview I like to share with people. And now I'd like to open it up to questions that people may have about this. So how do we work with the questions, Yosha?
I'll read them.
Yosha is here with me. Shanti's here also in the background. If you want to wave your hand.
I can't see.
Can't see, but you can come over if you want. So, any questions, preguntas, okay, that you may have?
What do you recommend in the event that vaccines are pushed?
Run for the hills.
It's a very difficult thing because, the awareness is this may not be a good thing, okay? That's as far as I want to go. I think we're going to have to, how do I put it, face it when it comes. Different people, I'm going to say channels, different off-planet people are saying it's not going to happen so quickly. And I think there may be all kinds of things that may happen, including major protests. People are on to the game, right? That's the point I'm making. It's like just that you ask the question makes the point that probably everyone here listening knows we don't know what's going to be in those vaccines, okay? And that's, I think, what we really have to understand. And people are saying all kinds of things. I'd rather not get into it, only to say that I think an energy and a resistance against that will happen. Yes, there are people who think, oh, this is going to save us. That's what the health department says. Oh, yeah, it's going to save us. They also told us you shouldn't wear face masks, and they said a lot of things. But the point I'm making is a lot of people know, more than a little bit. And if you look at vaccines in general, which I want to stay away with as an internet topic here, people get not so good. I in my book, Conscious Parenting, I discuss 80 pages of discussing pros and cons. There's a lot of data on this, okay? What do we know about the flu vaccine? It doesn't really work. It's 10 to 30% effective, okay? That's not very good, okay? Building immune system is better. We also know the recent research, it's in the scientific journals, is that the more flu vaccines get, per year, whether you've got one per year or two, one every year for 3 years, you're more susceptible to getting the flu. So what we know historically, scientifically, is what I'm saying, is it actually makes it worse. That's as far as I can say. People are going to have to really figure out how to deal with it and stand up at some point. So that's the best we can do, but people are not unaware of this kind of problem.
If a person has the virus, how long are they contagious for?
People thought 14 days, and other people talk about 24 days. That's research out of the Lancet. And then other people are saying 37 days. My approach to it is don't think about that. It's not serving us. We don't even know what we're talking about, whether it's 37 days, 24 days. And other people are saying, 86% of the people carrying the virus around actually don't even know they have it because there's asymptomatic carriers. Other people, other doctors, for example, like a doctor from Harvard said, well, and then maybe 70% of our population will be exposed and have it. The key is the terrain, not what you're going to be running around in fear about. What's the terrain? That's what prevents us from getting sick, or just allows us to be very mildly affected. Okay, that's really the big picture. And I'll say one more thing. We know we are hearing about relapses both in China and other places around the world. This is actually a positive side of a negative situation. What is the positive side? Well, the more we take care of ourselves, and it's going to be possibly for years and years, we just have to be on optimal terrain function. In other words, we really have to start optimizing our health. We're not going to be touched by this if we optimize our health. And I think that's really the important message. Yeah, people have genetic variations and so forth. Some people will be more susceptible. But if we really optimize our health, many doctors and epidemiologists are saying that this is possibly less than 1% being affected or having mortality. So build the terrain. You don't have to worry about the kind of fears that are going on. Does it make you bulletproof? No. Maybe you'll get a little sick. Maybe you won't feel a thing. Maybe by the end in a year, everyone will have the virus. Okay, doesn't matter if you're not getting sick. We actually have lots of viruses in ourselves. And the question is them being activated. So kind of think about it that way, and you can kind of relax. Build the terrain physically, as we've talked about, but also emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. We want all levels of building the terrain. That's really where we're getting the optimum, I'm going to say protection, but that puts us in a negative. Just optimum quality of life that's going to create a general protective shield around us that can actually protect us from negative energies, which many people feel are behind this, or other type of things. So think big. Think, for the rest of my life, I'm going to take care of myself. I mean, what's wrong with that? How bad of a penalty is to take care of yourself and feel healthy, feel happy, and feel good, and feel love in your heart? That's not a bad outcome. So this is forcing us to pay attention and actually up the quality of our life. Okay?
What do you mean by dark forces? What specifically are we up against?
The idea of dark forces is a metaphorical way of talking about what's going on without talking about what's going on. So I'm going to not avoid the question entirely, but let's say there are deep forces who really are working against humanity. And that is kind of all over the literature. Do a little research on that. I don't want to go into that, really on the internet. But if you go just a little bit, you'll see there's a huge amount of material about the levels of dark forces. Nothing new here. Okay, now here's the good news. There are all forces of light working too. This is not a one-sided universe, right, where Satan rules. No. There are forces of light that are very well with us. I will actually tell you an experience I had in Argentina, in Cordova, where some of the space people tend to be. And I'm meditating up on this cliff. It's like, maybe 6 feet wide. And I make contact with them, or they make contact with me, whatever. There's a place where you make contact. So they're communicating. They're saying something really simple. Get people to meditate. Get people to turn on to God. We will be with you. But you have to create a field that allows us to work through you to transform this into a planet of light. Now, that's what they told me. So I come out of meditation. Well, that's interesting. And there's this guy standing in front of me. It's like, who are you? And because nobody was there. It was kind of an isolated little cliff. And he said, well, they sent me to talk to you. So obviously he was in direct communication. It's like, well, it wasn't a fantasy. I didn't say anything. I'm sitting there meditating, right? And I come out. He said, what did they tell you? And I said, this is what it is. Bring in the light, meditate and bring in the light, and that light will dissolve the darkness. And we will be behind you. He said, that's exactly their message. And I'm here to validate that it wasn't your fantasy. And it turned out he was actually from a major city, Buenos Aires, actually, and he had moved out to this area to work with these people, and he was actually a former rabbi. It's like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. So that's your representative here, and he's confirming that this really did happen. It's not your imagination. It really did happen. That's why I'm sharing it with you. There are forces of light working with us, supporting us, and I'm be very specific, supporting our meditations of opening up the light, because they're right behind us. And really the message to me that they gave is just encourage people to meditate, open up to God, and we will then be able to work through you without necessarily coming onto the planet. Now, there are other people saying their forces of light actually active working on the planet, dealing with the dark side. All that's going on. I can just tell you my experience, which was validated by this person who just showed out of the blue. Nobody was there. Nobody was there before he started. But he was real. I touched him. I want to make sure, am I seeing an illusion? What's going on? No, he was a real person, and actually, I checked up on him, and he was the person being their physical representative on Earth. So there are forces of light. So let's not focus so much on forces of darkness, but understand, as there are forces of light in the yin-yang of the universe, there are forces of darkness working in multiple levels, playing out this game. So that's as close as I want to talk about it. Again, there's a lot of information on that, of the multiple levels of the forces. But no, they're there, and they're for real, and I just gave you a real-life example of that.
What do you think of nebulizing Illumidine? And if so, should it be just Illumidine, or should we add hydrogen peroxide?
What I am recommending is two things, two nebulizers. And that's what actually, when we actually did a workshop here, we had two nebulizers going. One is illuminating hydrogen peroxide and water. I just put about 8 drops of illuminating, and that's going up into the air. It's going into your lungs. It's protecting your lung tissue, okay? Which is where the virus is programmed to attack. The other one is I use a special herbal aromatherapy set of herbs in another nebulizer, which is an antiviral. So in our atmosphere, as I'm sitting here right now, I have 2 nebulizers going. One is with the aromatherapy that Shanti has made, and the other is just the hydrogen peroxide and the illuminate. So I think it's a really good thing. It's a really simple thing. People are worried about viruses floating around there. Fine. The nebulizers are going to help knock it out. So that's so I highly recommend it. There may be a run on nebulizers, but not such a bad thing. And we have it in every room, because let's make the atmosphere completely clean. We have it at the office too, although we're not seeing patients at the office necessarily at this point. I'm doing all my clients and all the people, because people are calling me from all over, I'm doing it obviously all over the internet, and that works good for the moment. I spent a lot of time during the day now seeing clients who are worried or maybe a little sick, as well as the people I've been seeing for years. So we do it all over the internet, and they get the advantage of the nebulizers in my room.
Okay. Do you recommend doing a Illumidine nasal rinse?
Whoa. Illuminite nasal rinse. Can they hear the questions? Okay. I'm a little hesitant. Illuminite's really strong. Okay. What I recommend in my paper is possibly taking a sauna, using a hairdryer, blowing the hot air, getting the temperature above 133. Salt water is pretty good. Illuminating you can do. You can do Illuminite enemas. You can do those things. It's a little intense, so that's why I wouldn't really publicly recommend that. So that's my kind of answer to you in that way.
Is Illumidine okay for people with Hashimoto's or other thyroid disorders?
These are important questions. They're kind of more medical questions. I would say a little bit. I haven't seen anybody having a problem. The key is that, it's being used up treating, microbials. So it's maybe not quite getting to the thyroid per se.
Several people are asking you to go through the nebulizer piece again.
Sure.
Ingredients.
Sure. So the nebulizer, one is water, hydrogen peroxide, 2 tablespoons, and about 8 drops of illuminate. That's it. Just put it in the nebulizer, and that's it. The other one is water, and again, about 8 drops of our special aromatherapy that's antiviral. It's very, very simple and a really good idea to do.
Nebulizer or diffuser? Is there a difference? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I'm trying to think how to do this.
Nebulizer is typically the mask.
Well,
Diffusers,
we'll call it a diffuser. Let's see if we can kind of see it. See it? That's what I'm talking about. That's a hydrogen peroxide one, and illuminating, and it's just plugged in, and it's just gently putting this mist into the air. So we'll call it a diffuser.
Yeah.
That's good. Diffuser. People can use a nebulizer, but in general, that takes a lot of time and energy. This is just going on while we're talking, and everybody can see it. Pretty simple. Okay.
I got another. You ready for another one?
Sure.
Okay. So with the hair dryer that you recommended last time,
Yes.
how long do you recommend?
5 minutes. You know, when I'm talking about the frequencies, I'm really talking about purging the old frequencies, which obviously includes the deep state, the dark side. Okay, that's a purging. And as we create the light, it naturally burns, and I'm going to say also transforms. I'm trying to avoid the polarity. It's about transforming the darkness into light, and that's the key thing. And I also want to suggest the possibility that there are people working off planet to nullify 5G. You know, people are, from my point of view, from transmissions from years and years and years, there are people are working with us. There are also people working against us who are off planet, but there is some pleaded stuff that's really saying, you know, we're working hard to neutralize the 5G because they see it as a direct threat to all life on the planet. And in my article, which again people can get, drcousins.com, you know, and the website, you know, that article, it points out that 5G disrupts all life on the planet. It's a really, really evil thing. Yes, it helps make money for some people, but for the living planet, it's a total disaster.
Ready for another one?
Yeah.
Best protection against 5G, especially if there are towers in your area.
That's a towering question. Okay. Actually, in my next newsletter, I'm very fortunate to work with David Wagner with Tachyon, and we have actually worked out some protocols which were his equipment is now available for protecting us, our house, and our cars. There'll be a time when we can drive again. Okay? And we have those protocols, and very, very soon we will be actually releasing the little technical stuff. It's not much. You put things under your floor mat, you know, in your car, the front. If you have a, you know, well, you do that, and you put a few things in your dashboard, and that's it. We have ways to block the 5G coming in from the windows. We actually have this in this office. We've kind of gotten our head on that. We have special tachyonized crystals that actually nullify the whole room from 5G. We will be releasing it very, very soon, and I will be talking about it in my paper. So we're very close. We can stop the 5G in that way, but that's just you, it's your family, and all, which is important, but it has to be stopped on a global level. We have to get deactivate those satellites that are seriously disrupting the Schumann resonance and the global electrical signal. Okay, that's the level that we have to deal with it. But yes, we have technology. I actually wouldn't talk about it if I didn't. I don't like to bring up a problem without a solution. We have it. I will be coming out in the next newsletter. It's, be honest, a lot of people comment, oh, wow, that was a pretty comprehensive newsletter. Well, it is. It's a lot of work. And trying to get the right perspective, which is don't be in fear, build the terrain, and we're going to do that for the rest of our lives because we don't know what's going to be thrown at us next until this is all stopped. And it will stop. As much as the dark forces think they're going to do this, they will not win. God is on our side. God wins in the end. So let's be very optimistic, but we have to make it through these difficult times. And we do have forces, as they say, working for us and nullifying the effects of the 5G, but we have to have our own protection as well. We have to do it on every level. But be optimistic. Don't feel we're a bunch of fish in a barrel with the people shooting at us in the barrel, the dark forces. And I'm using it as a vague term. I'm trying not to be, like locally political, so to speak. It's like, yeah, there are forces, and they're forces of light, and this is the cosmic play. It's been going on for thousands of years. So what's new? Well, I'll tell you one thing that's new. We're getting near the end. This is their last shot at us, okay? We will win, and we will win in our lifetimes. So be optimistic, and in this whole picture. Okay, ready for the next question?
Yeah, how can we organize to stop 5G?
There are organizations out there. I will put it up on my website. I do have it actually. They've just come out with a paper which allows us to actually sue, this is important, actually sue the different agencies that are doing it. So they've done some great work with it. I will actually have that up on my website within the week. Okay, so I'm pretty excited about that. So we can stop them legally and also through political pressures. They have outlawed 5G in Brussels. They've outlawed it in different places around the world. And our political pressure on our politicians, who are not necessarily that well educated and maybe possibly good intentioned, let's give that benefit of the doubt, they may hear it, because guess what? It's their families and their lives as well. And somebody has to be intelligent enough to know you're protecting your own family, even if you're a politician. So there are people ready to listen here.
Individuals saying that they've been taking the Illumidine protocol but irritating their stomach. What do you recommend?
Generally, when it happens, I recommend taking a little bit less and putting it in more water.
Will you take a spiritual question?
Oh, of course. I always like to take spiritual questions.
Okay. I have lost my urge for the divine. How do I regain without going into grasping or search mode? Do you think it is part of the dark force of COVID-19?
That's a great question. And the way to reconnect with the divine is go within, because the divine exists within us, not as a matter of faith, but with meditation, or I'm going to say the 6 foundations, they empower us to reconnect with the divine within. What are the 6 foundations? Eating a 100% vegan and at least 80% live food diet, doing yoga, pranayama, what we do, try yoga here, pranayama, breathing exercises, service and charity, okay, and working with a spiritual teacher, and meditating, and being open to the awakening of the spiritual energy or the kundalini. Now, I'm going to take advantage of the question and say, look, I am very soon going to have another workshop, probably within 30 days. It's just a question of a little organizing on our part, We do have that spiritual energy awakening. We will be guiding people through truly all the 6 foundations, except maybe service and charity, just because they're on the internet. But you go out and do that type of thing. We want to help the people around us. We want to wake up as many people. We want to help as many people return to God. And I don't mean a religion, I mean God. Okay? So that's how we do it. We do all those things. But to me, the most powerful thing is meditating, and as much as an hour twice a day, and that puts us more in touch with it. Don't get discouraged. People have ups and downs in their spiritual life, and just keep going. It'll open up again. That's the key thing.
Okay. How can we subscribe to your newsletter?
So just go to drcousins.com. That's it, drcousins.com. It shows you how to subscribe to the newsletter. It's all real simple stuff. I've made it as simple as I can. I just want you to hear the good news, okay? We have the power to transform this planet into a planet of light. And that's the advantage. That's the turning around, so to speak. The Aikido of what this is going on, what's happening now is how do we turn this, what looks like a slam dunk for the dark side, into a tremendous public worldwide upheaval where we return to God, return to the light. And we are undefeatable when we do that. No amount of dark force can defeat the light. But we have to do our work. We have to show up. I will be looking into thinking about how we start a regular global meditation like what we used to have for Peace 21, so we can begin to shift the global brain back into the light. Any other questions?
Well, we are at about an hour. I do have one in front of me.
There's one more question. We're about an hour, so we're good. Let's go ahead and ask the question.
Is kelp the same as the liquid iodine? I have a capsule 400 iodine 660 kelp. Is that too much to take?
No, and kelp is not nearly as strong as what we're talking about. The other problem I have with kelp is since Fukushima, if the kelp is from the Pacific Ocean, it's fairly well filled with radiation. So I think you want something pure, like what we sell here, the illuminine. It's mined iodine. It's not from the ocean. Okay, so big picture again, we're part of an emerging global consciousness. We give thanks for this crisis that has been created to help us wake up. May everyone feel really empowered and blessed to now be ready to build your own terrain, improve our relationships, creating a more sacred, bringing more the love of God into everything we do, and wake up the planet. This is a wonderful opportunity to wake up the planet. So may we be blessed with the success and helping people return to God, and in that way create the healing for the planet. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Ataki Asan. And just hang on because I'm giving Shaktipat through the eyes. Just look at my eyes for a moment. Open yourself up to the spiritual energy. Can we bring this a little closer? No, sure, just a second. Okay, peace be with you. Amen. Aho. Om Ataki Asan.